It's Monday, the 1st of November, 2021, and this evening's show, we run the rule over what some people have described as a smash and grab at Bramall Lane on Saturday. I'm not one of them. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seaside's podcast, Match Reaction Show. Sheffield United 0, Blackpool 1. Take 2.
Tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Finally, welcome back to this Match Reaction Show.
Has anybody got a feeling of a deja vu?
I leave you alone at one reaction show. I don't turn up and you cock it up. And I try to cock it up tonight.
Apologies for the delay, listeners, viewers. Mr. Tim Fielding there was fiddling around with his knobs as per usual and couldn't get his mic working. So there will be a slight degradation of those Timisms coming out of his mouth. So the vocabulary will be the same, but the audio quality will be slightly diminished. Tim, aka the Bucky Slayer, would you like to tell the listeners what that's all about?
Well, we went to Nottingham and we started when we stopped at this pub in Cleckheaton and we put a bet on that game, and I did a fivefold, and Ashley followed me, and Tangerine Y-fronts on the board, Ray Gregson also did, and we won £550. So we went basically the same place on the way to Sheffield, and I saw the odds on Blackpool at 5-1 against Sheffield.
I think I saw that actually, Tim. I want the credit for this. I shouted out, "Have you seen this? Blackpool 5-1."
Which was just ridiculous, wasn't it? Ridiculous odds. So I basically encouraged everybody on the table to put a bet on. So
you know when you see those bookies at live racetracks where they've got like a big wads of cash in their hand and they're trying to encourage people to bet. Like Tim took on that role, didn't you, in that nice pub we were in?
Yeah, my missus was going, what have you been doing on Bet365? Because it's all coming out of my account, but it's not all, it's everybody's giving me cash. So we ended up, we actually cashed out because I was getting a bit twitchy on Blackpool.
Your arse went, didn't it, on 85 minutes?
It did. So I cashed out for the benefit of the group and took an executive decision. But then Ashley managed to win on 1-0 and as well. So we all I think we won £550 on Blackpool winning. He won another £140 on 1-0, and then I'd done another perm of 5, which me, Ray, and Ash had done, and that came in at £750. So the grand total was about £1,500 on the bets we did in that pub. So
thanks to Neil and the boys, we were all rolling in the dough, weren't we? So we all had pretty much a free away day at Sheffield United.
And everybody on the coach had a free beer on the way back, courtesy of Polton Bus.
Good old Ash, yeah. He bought the pub stop. He bought the entire coach a drink with his winnings, didn't he? And that poor girl in that pub in Rochdale, she didn't know what hit her, did she?
Exactly.
The landlord must have been pleased, though. But yeah.
Anyway, it's not big and it's not clever. So if there's any under 18s listening, don't do it.
But if there's any over 18s listening, ask Tim for some tips. Because he's ka-ching.
Do I have to say big gamble aware and if the fun stops really quickly now?
I've had a few messages from Bet365 over the last couple of days about, do I need any help?
Now I'm bleeding you dry, you're fine.
I think Denise Coates can take the hit, can't she?
I'm sure she can. She's the highest paid executive in the country, wasn't she?
Something like that. I wonder if she's there on Wednesday nights. Charge of Stoke, isn't she? Anyway,
you're undermining Stoke, aren't you, before the game, Tim? That's very, very clever.
It could be the team talk, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Pin my bet on the wall. Actually, I saw
go and win the money back.
Slightly better than me. I think Luca Vernociani's put his bet up, and I won't mention how much it was, but it was a at least 1-0 better than mine.
You can get a lot of ice cream for it. Let's leave it at that. At least a year's supply of Notriani ice cream.
But it was ridiculous, wasn't it? When you bear in mind we were above them in the league, and it's
5-1, 5-1, really. More fool them. Speaking of money, I'm just looking in the comments. Both Chris Harrison and Roman Dame have both talked about £4.50 for a lukewarm can in Sheffield United. That's what got my goats. It was all warm, wasn't it? The beer.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depended on which of the bars you went to, because I had a nice ice cold can of John Smith's, which wasn't warm at all. Yeah, but when I went in through the turnstile, the first bar was swamped, so I walked right up to the end, and there was another little kiosk, and it was cold in that one.
Damn it! Maybe it's because John Smith was cold because no other fucker drinks it hardly.
Well, it could be.
And the pies, because they had a real bargain. Pie and a pint and a can of warm lager deal for £7.50. The pie was like the filling in it hadn't even warmed up properly. It was.
They could have done with transferring some of the warmth out of the lager they were serving into the pie, with the filling of the pie. Anyway, shall we get on with the match reaction show? I'm sure the listeners haven't come to hear about pies and their temperature, lager, etc. Anyway, welcome, Joe, on your new headset.
Yep. Feeling great, like some kind of a airport control geezer. One of these on, but I thought I'd splash out. Went to Curry's, saw a deal, £50. Why not?
Should have got Tim to buy you one with his money.
Yeah, I know. Should have.
Or Tom Main with his discount.
I know. He messaged me afterwards, but well, never mind. At least it's sorted now.
Yeah. So anyone who tuned into the stream yesterday will hear Joe constantly breaking up my internet connection. But right, we're here now anyway. And as Matt's just said, when the fun stops, you're watching Preston. Very good, Matt. Matt, I've had so many people come up to me and say, when are you going to do one of those pissed ones when Matt was really pissed? So get yourself in training. I think he's on holiday in Dorset at the moment. But, right, let's get back to it then. Blackpool went to Bramall Lane on Saturday, and there was much consternation on the preview show as to what the lineup may be, going up with all these weird and wonderful formations, but Mitch, he stuck it at 4-4-2, stayed the same for only the 5th time since he's been in charge.
He did, but I think he's earned the right to do what he wants, hasn't he? My gut feeling was that although I didn't necessarily agree with every choice of the pod preview team, I thought that the 4-2-3-1 was probably the way to go. That was my gut feeling, but I've given up thinking anything when he picks a team, to be honest, because it's we're always wrong. I was happy enough to see it. Big Gaz was playing. I'm always happy to see Gaz. Same again. We played really well. We showed very little weakness against Preston, and I think he was going for the solidity that we showed against Preston in this game. So I could understand where he was coming from.
Joe, what was your thoughts when you saw the formation?
I was shocked, but I don't think I should be, because he's Neil Critchley. He'll do what he wants, won't he? And he's very, very rarely wrong. Very much like Matt said. I mean, the performance against Preston North End, although obviously Sheffield United, league-wise and on paper, are a much, much better team than Preston. The performance that we put in against them, hard to argue that 11 didn't deserve to start again. So, whereas I agree with Matt, I probably would have gone for a little bit of a switch in formation, have a bit more bodies in midfield, so to speak. You can't argue with Critch, can you? He knows what we're doing. He knows what we're doing. He knows his own mind. He sees them day in, day out. And another, I wouldn't say masterclass. It was slightly a smash and grab, but he's showing faith in the players that have got the shirts. And, that's all you can ask of a manager.
Tim, over to you. The formation, as we said, there was a lot of consternation. A lot of people, as I said in the intro, talking about smash and grab. I'm not convinced it was a smash and grab, but in that first half with that team, we were just okay, weren't we? And I think, as we said, we didn't have to get out of third gear with that team to play Preston to beat them.
No, I think what we saw on Saturday was, and our contributor from Sheffield actually called it, didn't he? How they have a lot of possession, play it around in their defensive half, push it forward to the edge of the box, and then don't often get a shot off. And so they sort of flattered to deceive a bit, I thought. And I thought we started okay, and then I thought they dominated it probably between 15, 20 minutes and about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And we weathered the storm. Thou shall not pass, and the brick wall at the back did its job again. I think Husband gets better and better every game since he's got his place back in the team, and I think Gabriel basically proved why he should have kept the shirt as well. So that back four was really, really good, I thought, and when we were under pressure, particularly. So I think sometimes in an away game, particularly when you're away at a tight side, it's a big team, a big stadium. They're always going to have a period of a game where they're going to dominate, and we did what we needed to do.
So, Mitch, how do you think we started this game? But very sort of an even start, wasn't it? Both teams seemed to be on the front foot.
Yeah, it was, but I think without answering a different question, I think I saw it slightly differently to you and Tim. I actually thought sort of in that first half, it felt like playing the championship sides that you expect to find in the championship. I was actually quite impressed with Sheffield United, and I felt like that first half, I did feel like we were hanging on a little bit. I thought they tested us as much as anybody has tested us without being clinical. And I also thought they played us very well. I thought it was early let's start again. It was evident quite early on that they really weren't going to let Bowler play. And I think we struggled with that. I think that Kesh took his time to get into the game. We talked in a previous pod about, when it's the four in midfield, that Wintle and Dougal aren't really going to be a creative force. And I think they sat very tight on Bowler. They cut him off every time he got a chance to accelerate. They got to him before he'd accelerated. And I thought, yeah, we did okay for the first 10, 15 minutes, but I thought I felt as edgy watching that first half as I have watching us for a while, to be honest, was my take on it.
Sheffield United did have the ball in the back of the net on, was it barely 10 minutes? If you recall, that was that header from Niadje, I think he's called. Very borderline, and an escape and a warning shot across the bows for Blackpool and from Sheffield United in that first half.
Yeah, I think we all sort of breathed a sigh of relief on that one, wasn't it? Quite often because I think I did feel for a lot of the game like the ref was giving them the decisions. He seemed a little bit of a homer, and we didn't get some decisions which I think if it had been the other way around, they would have been given free kick wise, etc. But with that one, I think I'm trying to. I haven't had a chance to watch it back, to be honest. I was out yesterday and working today, but I remember thinking at the time I thought we were quite fortunate for that not to stand. I think a lot of games it might have done.
Joe, your first thoughts on the first half, particularly the start for Blackpool, and give us an idea of where you were actually sat in the ground in the disabled section. What was your viewpoint like? We could do disabled section review, couldn't we?
Yeah, it'd be very short and sweet. It wasn't the best. It was like past the corner flag to the very, very, very far right. I ended up getting out my chair and climbing up a few banisters to get on like the fourth row. So I have a slightly better view. And that's all it was, slightly better. But I thought, to answer your point, I thought Sheffield United are probably the best footballing team we've played this season that I've seen us play against. Obviously, I didn't go to Bournemouth away, but I thought that they passed the ball very well. they just seem to try and score that perfect goal. They seem to try and want to walk it in rather than get crosses in the box. Ironically, the one time they did get a cross on the box, they scored. It was, marginally offside. But I thought they were a very good footballing team. And I think it's only a matter of time before they click. If they can sort out their final ball and not trying to score that, Arsene Wenger walk the ball in under Arsenal type goal, I think they'll be fine this season. And we held firm that first half. Saying that, I only remember Grimshaw having 2 relatively comfortable saves to make, although obviously the second half it was a very different matter.
Mitch, on the preview show, the Johnny from the Show and View, the Sheffield pod, he did actually point this out. Don't know if you remember. I don't know if you listened to it at all, but he said we overplay. We, as in Sheffield, he says we overplay things far too much. We take sort of 18 to 20 touches sometimes when 2 or 3 could do. And he called this game perfectly. He said we'll have spells of dominance. He says we'll have a brilliant 20-minute spell where we'll completely knock it around, but we probably won't score. And I think he predicted 0-0. And if you just avert your eyes to the screen, Tangerine Babe says if Sheffield had a clinical striker, we could have been trouble in the first half and the beginning of the second. That's a fairly good shout, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It reminds me. They reminded me a little bit of us last year, sort of early Critch, where we had those games where we actually looked really good until we got to the edge of the box, and everyone just passed sideways. It'd sort of be like Grant Ward would give it to Ethan Robson, who'd give it to Kaika, who'd give it back to Robson, who'd give it back to Grant Ward. Then we'd go back to the fullback, and then we'd start again, and it'd drive you mad. And you could sort of see. I'd said to me mate who was at the game with us that you could kind of see why they'd been a Premier League team recently, but you could also see why they weren't a Premier League team anymore. And he said, he made a really good quote, and he said it was almost like an archaeological thing, like sort of like going through the wreckage of a society where you could see what had made them great and also see what had destroyed them. And I kind of quite liked that. And you could really see that they had a lot of quality. And I think, the sides that have impressed me this year, that have really impressed me, basically have been Coventry and Bournemouth in that first half. They're the sides that have really felt like a step up. Everybody else has, to be honest, has been a bit like a League One plus team. But Sheffield United felt something more than that. And, but they couldn't finish, good.
Mitch, you are the king of the analogy, and that's another great one.
That's actually my mate Joe came to me the game and supports Everton, so that was his.
Well, do what I do, claim it as your own. Take the glory. Take the glory for other people. Tim, I'm sure you'll appreciate that archaeological analogy from Mitch there, being the history buff that you are. But
yes, I'm still working with the Plantagenets. Yeah, I'm still working with the Plantagenets. So. But yeah, it is, and I think every team that comes down from the Premier League will have players of a certain quality, won't they? And they still have. You can see it. They've still got. They've. I think what they're probably doing. They're probably missing the manager, aren't they? Who was the architect of everything that was good about them for 5 years, and I think they've fallen foul to sort of like that hubris you get when you think you deserve to be in the Premier League, and you get rid of the person who actually caught you there in the first place, trying to chase staying in there. And I think probably Sheffield United are a classic example of that, where they've thought we're not winning every week, or we're not in the top half of the league like we were in the first year. So let's get rid of the manager, and that's probably the biggest mistake they've made.
I think we were discussing this on the coach, weren't we? That again, Johnny from the Shore and View pod, he said Chris Wilder played to an exact system with exact type of players in every position, and once you're changing that manager, that system goes out of the window. And Mitch, I don't think that you can play with those types of players in a completely different system where they want to play a more an expansive game. And I think it kind of showed in spells of that game.
It did, but I think Jukanovic he's got the track record, hasn't he? I mean, he's got two promotions on his CV, hasn't he? He took Fulham and somebody else up, and I think it's almost a sense that they need to click with him as much as anything. I can see it coming together eventually for them, because it didn't look like, they certainly didn't look like one of those teams where you watch them and think, oh, this is a car crash, this isn't working out. It just looked like they were just a little bit short of something. And as I say, it reminded me a little bit of some of those early games under Critch where we played quite well and then lost. Where you just got a sense that they hadn't quite clicked together with what it was the manager wanted to do, and they were sort of doing something, maybe still habits from the previous manager left over. I think they'll be a late run this year. I do.
Joe, you're nodding. You had an agreement there. Sheffield United, kind of similar to Blackpool, and we're just stuck with him kind of era. But,
yeah, very much so. Yeah, like I said, I mean, their manager. He's got a proven track record. He's done it at 2 previous clubs. You look at the squad on paper; they should be absolutely battering us. So, I don't think it's arrogance from their fans. I think it's more frustration that they're so nearly there to being a very, very good championship team. And obviously, you've got the teams that have come down from the Premiership with them. They've gone off to Flyers and they're like floundering a little bit in mid-table. I can understand from their point of view the frustration. But I think if they just give him a little bit of time, once that team clicks, I can see them doing very, very well. Very well.
Obviously, Tim, a big stadium to visit and a substantial crowd as well. Looks around 30,000 crowd, but pretty disappointing support-wise, considering their numbers. And you don't really class Sheffield United as a kind of or Bramall Lane as a library type of atmosphere or team. They've got decent supporters, but I was quite surprised at how quiet they were at Bramall Lane.
Underwhelmed, I think, is the word you were looking for, isn't it? It was. Bearing in mind there was 28,500 there. I struggled to remember, other than the little ditty they sang before the start of the game, any point where there was any noise emanating from any part of the stadium, really. They've got that huge cop at the opposite end to we were at that was pretty full. There's a fair number above us, actually. No, we couldn't see them, but I saw a picture of when we scored, and there's a fair few above us. Didn't hear anything from them. It's really bizarre, really. I mean, I think that there was quite a lot of people linking Blade's forums posts about the atmosphere, and they were commenting on it as well, weren't they? And it was commented about our support and particularly theirs, and very, very subdued. And I think one of the things that we've got, and I think it's panned out a bit. It's been mentioned on AVFTT today, is because when we've come back, the sort of muckers grabbed the north and took all those seats. We've created an end where there is a fantastic atmosphere. And what that actually does, and everybody goes there because everybody wants to stand, goes in that area of the ground, and everybody wants to sing, goes. But it started spreading around the ground. And I've noticed when I've seen a few bloggers and whatever putting videos out through the game, that all the West are joining in and the South are joining in. And when you have one stand that gives it loads, it helps the whole atmosphere in the ground. And they haven't got that. I was really, really surprised because I thought that they would be better than that.
Mitch, just talk about the atmosphere again. It was another incredible atmosphere in the away end. And you said you took a mate with you who isn't a Blackpool fan to the game. What did he think?
Yeah, I took my mate and his son. His son's like sort of 16, 17, so he's like prime age for that sort of experience, really. He was really into it. And they're Everton fans. They don't go every week, but they do go to Everton games. And they both said they'd never really been in an atmosphere like it. And I tell you what game they were at. They were at. Do you remember that game where Duncan Ferguson managed Everton against Chelsea? And they said it was actually a better atmosphere than that, and that was the best they'd ever experienced at Goodison, because it was absolutely rocking that day. And they were just kind of like you're so loud, you never shut up. And at one point, my mate was moaning because he's going, it's too bloody loud, you never stop singing, can't concentrate. And I was like, what are you on about? This is what it's like.
I can't concentrate.
He's going, this is what it's like. This is what it's like. What's it like at Goodison? He's going, well, you can watch the bloody game without somebody hollering down your ear.
To be fair, I didn't think we were as loud as we were at Middlesbrough and other games either.
No, certainly where I was, my seats were crap. I ended up sort of almost in a similar position to you, but on the other side of the ground. I was right down at the front on the far left, and the view was terrible. It really was. It was really, you could barely see it was happening at the other end of the pitch. And we were kind of just a bit out of the main atmosphere. And just on that bit, kind of where you're in that bit where somebody singing really loudly stands out a bit because not everybody's singing around you. So it was a bit like one bloke hollering down his ear, to be fair to him. We weren't right in the middle of the noise, which was a shame. But even then, they were really, really impressed by it. And they were like, is it always like this? And I said, well, yeah, it has been. Yeah.
We were right in the middle of it, weren't we, Tim? In the thick of it. No one took their allocated seat, so we just pretty much stood up all the way.
Yeah, and the aisles were full as well, weren't they? Because I think obviously when you see the picture of the fans, there's a few seats I think on the left that weren't taken, but there was loads around us who didn't have seats. They'd all thought, "Sob, sitting right at the end. I'm going in the middle," and that's
makes the atmosphere better, doesn't it?
Oh, it was almost like being on a terrace, wasn't it? Because everybody stood up and there was just like no space whatsoever. And when we scored, obviously, I know we'll be coming on to that, but it was a special moment. And when you see the pictures, I don't think we've seen as a good a one as when we scored at Forest. I personally haven't seen as good a camera angle, but it looks absolutely fantastic when it literally takes me back to the 70s and 80s when you had a packed terrace and when somebody scored on those terraces. It's I've actually set a poster today. I think I'm enjoying going to watch Blackpool at the moment more than I've ever done at any point in the 45 years that I've been going, and just for the whole match experience, the whole day. I can't think of a time where I've gone and just enjoyed it from the moment I left the house to the moment I got home. Even when we lost at Forest, I enjoyed it from the moment. It was no different. It's not all about the results. It's just the whole experience of the day is just brilliant.
I couldn't agree more with you, Tim. And I actually had a really bad feeling about the outcome of this game. I thought we were going to get absolutely battered, to be honest, in my heart of hearts. And I thought, well, I'm not really bothered because we'll sing all the way through. It'll be a great game. It'll be absolutely rammed. It'll just be a buzz, whatever happens. And I think that's it's just fantastic because so few clubs actually have that experience where, you listen to 606 and there's just angry people ringing up because the team's only drawn 1-1 and everybody's raging. And it's just not what it's about. I couldn't agree more.
Halcyon times to be a Blackpool fan at the moment. So we've gone in reasonably fortuitously 0-0 at half time, but Joe, the second half's got underway and Sheffield United on the front foot. Gibbs White's had a pot shot that Grimshaw's just saved, and on 49 minutes, massive moment in the game. Grimshaw's done exactly what he did at Reading. All right, the kind of save was differently, but he's made a superb match-winning save from Gibbs White, and what a save it was, because Gibbs White, he's caught the ball perfectly, kept it down hard and low, and talk us through the save.
I thought that Gibbs White was probably their best player. I think he's on loan from Wolves, isn't he? Pretty sure he's on loan from Wolves.
We need the likes of Sean and Connor on to answer those questions, and Tom.
Right. Well, let's just say he's on loan from Wolves. I'm pretty sure he is.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, Gibbs White. Yeah, he's on loan from Wolves.
Obviously. Yeah. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Did you not know that? Yeah. Did you not know?
But, I thought he was quality. I thought he was head and shoulders their best player. And the save, it was a fantastic save. Very much instinctive. He managed to get down low to his right and get the save away. And like you say, very similar to the save that he made against Reading. It's kept us in the game. And by that stage, we were kind of clinging on a little. The first hour of the match, you've got to say if it was a boxing match, Sheffield United were well ahead on points.
Yeah. They weren't knocking us out, but they were ahead on points. Mitch, you love your analogies. I think it's a decent one, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And actually, I think that was our ropiest part of the game was that second half, because there was multiple chances that they had, and I'd sort of said, right, he sent him. I don't know if you noticed, he sent him out quite early after half time, and I think he'd given them a bit of a going and sort of said, look, we need to get a grip on this game. We need to impose ourselves. And I was kind of all like, right, come on, we're really going to grab this game now. We're really going to turn up. And they just piled into us from the first whistle for about 10 to 15 minutes. That Grimshaw save, there was the one, they hit the bar, didn't they?
Shortly after.
Yeah, they hit the bar. And I think Keogh he either got a slight touch on it, which was brilliant, or he did just enough to put the guy off. It was a superb interception from Keogh, and they had a snapshot again a few minutes later where the guy really should have done better, where he rattled it into the advertising boards, and it just felt for that sort of 10, 15 minutes like it's coming. The game's really turning. Yeah.
Tim, 63 minutes. Kind of sort of not say the turning of the tide, but it was a period of the game for Blackpool I think that needed to happen. Double substitution, Bowler and Yates off, Mitchell and Carey on. Talk us through what you thought of the subs and what you think
I could
trying to do there.
I could see the Bowler one because he wasn't getting any change, was he? I think Mitch called it right earlier on when he said I think they knew they had to stop him, and they did stop him, and I think that was part of their game plan, and Bowler just was not going to get anywhere on Saturday. So I could see that one straight away, and Carey states a very good case not to be starting, never mind coming on a sub. But I think 30 minutes as the game starts to stretch is probably a good way to introduce him. And I think that's probably to a certain degree that we get the best out of him because there's a bit more space for him to work with. I was a bit surprised with the Yates one, if I'm being honest. I think most people thought Medine would have been the one to go because obviously he's not played many games by his own admission. He's not completely match fit. And
I know what you're going to do, Mitch. We forgot about this. Sorry, Tim, go on. Mitch, you next. I know what you're going to say.
But no, I genuinely, I think I was quite shocked because I thought Yates had more running in him. So I was a bit surprised. But again, I think we must learn to realise that there's always method in any perceived madness.
Well, I'm
just wondering what you're going to say. What I'm thinking, Mitch. Go on.
Well, I was going to give my latest update on the Gary Medine stats file because I must admit I felt instinctively something similar. I thought, well, I can't see him leaving Medine up front on his own. And Yates had just had a little burst where he played quite well for 2 or 3 minutes. He kind of got into the game a little bit. And after the game, I had a look at the stats because, I'm into doing that with Gary. I'm all about the stats. And it was actually quite interesting. I would just like to have a very short quiz, very quick quiz. How many more touches, by what factor did Gary Medine have more touches than Jerry Yates in that match? Because it actually surprised me. So basically, times how many more did Gary Medine touch?
So it's obviously a lot. I'll guess 3. The factor of 3.
John, higher or lower?
More touches. It's like play your cards right there.
It is.
Higher than a Gary, you say? A 5.
5 for John and Joe.
I'm going to go in the middle and say 4.
The winner is Joe. So Medine actually touched the ball 48 times, which is the second most of a Blackpool forward this season behind Medine's previous or his best of 53. But then I also...
Medine would have had more. He's more of a link-up striker. That's from our friend Connor. Bully him.
I've got 2 more stats to give, then I'll let the show go on. And this isn't even my best stat of the day. That'll come later. He won 14 aerial challenges. The rest of the team combined won 8. Okay,
the rest of the team,
the team combined, everybody, that's Keogh, Marvin, everybody else put together won 8, which shows something. And if you look across the season, Medina has now won 45 aerial challenges. Bear in mind, he's been out for half the season or over half the season. The next highest player has won 37, which is it's either Keogh or Marv. So he's also, out of 562 eligible footballers, championship footballers, he's got the 18th best aerial duels won ratio, which is pretty impressive, which means he's in about the top 2% of players in the air. So I think that possibly explains in a long-winded way why he left him on, because Medine was influencing the game, whereas Yates had little flashes, but was arguably peripheral. You know, he'd be in every now and again, and I think that probably explained it. Because I must admit, at the time, I was a little bit surprised at that sub too. Mm. That's not even the best stat. That.
And we forgot about the chance he nearly scored in the first half. We've just forgotten that. He almost got on the end of that ball, didn't he?
That funny little dinked free kick from Bowler. Yeah.
I think I was saying to Tim, you might remember, I was going, it's Medine! He's going to score! He just couldn't get on. It's funny, isn't it? You've got this extra sort of spring in your step when you realise Big Gaz is there on the end of a chance. But yeah, go on.
Go on, I was going to say, but do you not think when you're bringing Carey on, who's going to pick up the ball in midfield and look to lay players in, that it doesn't quite fit in with the way the influence that Medine's having in some respects, does it? That's why I thought probably Yates should have been the better one to stay on.
I noticed they did play together, and I think I'm right in saying Carey got 2 in that funny Lancashire Cup game that the second string played. I didn't watch it, but I think it was online. And I think Carey got 2, and I think Medine set him up for both of those. I think we played like Fleetwood second string or something.
3-0 against Fleetwood.
Yeah, so they have played together in a semi-meaningful game, and obviously forged a relationship together of some sort. So I know exactly what you mean. You'd think Yates's movement would be perfect for Carey, but there we go.
What in Critch we trust? What do we know? In Critch we trust. So, did anyone notice a formation change when we made this double substitution? We are suggesting that it went to the 4-2-3-1 that was been talked about and banded on the preview show. And I thought after the substitution, Joe, we really kind of, I think the tide turned slightly, didn't it? And we were playing more on the front foot.
Yeah, I think having that extra man in midfield helped somewhat.
Quite overrun, weren't we?
And like Matt says, I think Gary Medine in a game like this, but you've also got to weigh in the fact that he was playing against one of his former clubs, so he was probably quite up for this game. And especially with him used to playing for Sheffield Wednesday, he's kind of got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Sheffield United fans. I thought that Carey definitely deserves his chance because Bowler was, 1, a little bit off it, and 2, he was being double marked throughout the game, so he was quite ineffective throughout the whole game, the way that they were doubling up on him. I think Carey definitely deserves his chance. And I thought that, I don't know, like after the hour, they seemed to kind of run out of steam, run out of ideas. And we just gained a little bit of more confidence. The crowd was starting to get on their back. Every misplaced pass was getting a bit of a grumble from the crowd. Whereas if we do that, just get behind them, just carry on. I think that I can't understand from their point of view why they didn't bring on their best finisher, which for me is Billy Sharp, who always scores against us as well. I think they left it way too late bringing him on. But from our point of view, I think that double substitute, I agree with Sim. I probably would have took Medine off, but what do I know?
Yeah, what do we know? What do we know? Tim, as Joe's just mentioned there, and as David Scholes has said in the comments, why do teams tire and run out of steam so quickly against us? And it always tends to be at this 60-minute point. And is it a coincidence that it always seems to be when we change our game plan? Oh, I've lost you, Tim. Still lost you.
Do you want me to take it?
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh, he's back.
I was trying to get my mic back on, but you called me in a bit too quick while I was still trying to plug it in. I think, but I think in most games, space opens up around that time, and I think it's then about what you do, about how you play, and who you bring on. So I think our fitness levels generally are quite good, but I think we seem to have substitutes who can come on and really influence a game, and we change. There's always a change in direction or change in tempo, I think, when our substitutes come on. So when you bring Carey on, you are bringing on pretty much still an unknown quantity, I suspect, in the Championship. And I don't think teams quite know what to expect. I'm sure they do research, and I'm sure that the knowledge gap is being plugged. But nevertheless, I think, they won't necessarily be expecting the quality that we have that comes off the bench. I just think we've got so many options at the moment. I mean, even bear in mind how many players we've got out. I think we were talking about would Virtue get? He was actually in the stands, wasn't he, with Blackpool fans? Virtue on Saturday, but
yes, he was in the concourse, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was on the piss in the concourse. No, he wasn't on the piss. He was just in the concourse.
He actually walked in just behind me, and that was another. Sorry, Tim, I've cut across you, but I'll be quick.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
Another thing, the Everton fans were like, we walked in, and I turned around to make sure my lad had got through the turnstile all right, and then behind me lad was Matty Virtue, and my mate and his son were there, and I said, "Oh, that's our midfielder that is there," and they were like, "What? There?" And I was like, "Yeah." So what's he doing in the stands with you? And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what it's like at Blackpool," and they were well impressed. Which obviously is not what it's like all the time. But brilliant. I was like, "Oh yeah, the players are always in with us."
What does Everton not do that?
No, does he not do that? No, you'll get Rondon sat next to you or someone. No, God.
Yeah, we all go on the piss with Jerry White. Yeah, it feels like yeah.
Anyway, Tim, sorry,
he was drinking lukewarm cans. Yeah. Tim, you were saying.
I've lost my train of thought now. I think what I was saying was that that we seem to have, even though we've got a lot of players out, and I mentioned like Virtue, would he get back in the team? And that personally, I don't think he would. But I think we've just got like an abundance of talent, all that can change the game. So like if Bowler doesn't start, then Bowler can come on and change the game. We've got players who, got Dale, who hasn't even got on the pitch, who's got an ability to change the game. Carey's come on and change the game. And we've got Mitchell who can come on and do things.
Stuart, Grant Ward.
We've got Laverick. We've got Laverick to come back.
I started a thread on A View from the Tower earlier. I started a thread on A View from the Tower earlier today about the 2009/2010 promotion winning squad and this squad. And I think there's no question that 11 with Charlie Adam, Vaughan, Southern, DJ, Gary Taylor, Fletcher, they're a better team. There's no question about that at the minute. Squad-wise,
I think we said this. Tim, we said I think the squad's far stronger, squad-wise. Yeah, I think me and Tim said this on the coach, didn't we? In the way
we've got two teams we can put out where when we were going up in 2009, 2010, if you lost Vaughan or you lost Adam, or in Southern, or if you lost DJ, we were weaker, weren't we? Because the players
Al Bangora and Daniel Nardiello.
Yeah.
No
to be fair, you can look all around that squad and say, there was probably about 14 that you could perm that would be strong. I think we've got 20, almost got 25, definitely got 20 that you could perm and play, and you wouldn't feel that there's a weakened team being put out.
We've not even mentioned Ollie Sarkic, have we? So
or TJJ, or TJJ, as Steve's just said there. Thank God for that, Steve.
Well, yeah, but I mean, was he that bad? I mean,
yes.
I don't think he was that bad, though. And I think that shows the strength of the fact that he was obviously the weak link. I think in other years, if you go back to say the first couple of years with Larry in the Championship, I don't necessarily think he would have looked that bad. I think it shows the strength of our squad and where we're at, that he looked so obviously out of place, and it was frustrating that he was getting games ahead of other players. You know, I think you think about those first 2 years in the Championship, we did have some pretty duff players at times in certain positions, and you know, you didn't notice as much because you didn't have a Mitchell, a Dale, a Bowler, or whoever else banging on the door going, let me in, let me in. Now we've got this position where we just won't put up with anybody not on the game because we know there is somebody so strong to come in. You know, Keogh or Marv slip up or their standards drop. You've got players like the Viking and, you know, someone like Callum Connolly, who's, you know, who can't get a game for love nor money trying to get in there. It is genuinely strong.
Compare and contrast where we were at the beginning of the season as well.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Okay, back to the game. It was talk about Richard Keogh's block from David McGoldrick. Joe, if you remember this. Again, another one of these blocks that Keogh's churning out time and time again, match after match.
He's just getting better every game, isn't he? I think it was like, we've said it before, at the start of the season, he just simply wasn't match fit, was he? And he had to get up to speed. Bit like the whole team, bit disrupted with COVID. He didn't obviously have a club to train with, and I think after that Fulham onwards, he's been absolutely sensational. And this was just another bit of brilliant defending, putting his body on the line. And yeah, I'm running out of superlatives for crazy Uncle Richard.
And Tim, so it was a brilliant time tackle because was it 3 or 4 minutes later, Sonny Carey's had that shot just tipped over the bar, great volley, and the momentum was building then, wasn't it? And you could sense something was in the air. You could sense something was going to happen.
I think we all did, didn't we? We all as that game went on and they didn't convert these chances, we all started to think, hang on a minute, could we do it again?
We were thinking, hang on a minute, we're gonna clear up loads of money on these bets. I mean, win the game. I think that was actually our main topic of conversation, wasn't it? The money. I said, hang on a minute, let's concentrate on getting 3 points.
We you know, those substitutions were, and I think, look, listen, this time last year, and even moving further into the season, I think we were quite critical of Critchley's substitution policy. It never seemed to be at the right time. He left it too long, or he made a whole raft of substitutions that completely destroyed the fabric of the flow of the game. And he seems to have learned, and he's so. I can't remember the last substitution I didn't think, yeah, that's right. But you know, I might have said over the Medine one, you know, it should have been Yates or Medine, but you could see the need for change, and you could see what that you definitely want to get Carey in there to try and do a bit. So
I think Critch. Sorry, Tim. I think Critch is obviously taking into account the excess factor of Gary Medine's play going into the final 15 minutes of the game.
And there was some good excess right at the end as well. But we'll come to that later.
Yeah. Well, that was actual S, Tim, not excess.
Yeah, the shithousery.
Expected shithousery. Joking aside, he may have been thinking that. He may have been thinking, we need shithousery in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. And what he's exceptionally good at is just, you know, keeping that ball in those channels, isn't he?
Yeah. Master at it.
He was also, his contributions were very good defensively as well, and I think I suspect that's why he had such a high aerial battle one, because they took some very good corners, some really dangerous in-swinging corners, and I think it was probably 4 times Medine was the man to head away from danger and I think also that might have been a factor that he thought, well, I need to keep him on in case at the other end as well, you know, whereas Jerry isn't particularly a player defensively in the box.
As for the goal then, Who wants to talk us through it? Joe, you're nodding your head. Away you go.
Yeah, I was in a probably, even though I was in the shittest part of the stand, it was probably the best view of the goal. So yeah, Grimshaw's had a punt up front. Everybody in the Sheffield United defence is kind of swept forward as one. All late, they've played Keshi on the side, and his actual first touch isn't that great, to be fair. He's kind of like got the ball behind it and it's kind of stuck under his foot, but he's managed to get it under control. Drove towards the goal. One of their defenders has got back and he's kind of cut inside, and from just inside the area, he's curled it right into the top corner. And it was a top corner that I was in line with. There, an absolute cracking view of it. Then absolute pandemonium in the away end. Limbs, as the kids say. Absolute limbs.
Tim, I
think John was one of the biggest contributors. I think he was flying down the stand.
I was. I must have gone down about 8 levels because I was stood. Actually on the
Turn
steps.
around. So good goal, John. He's down. Right
was
down
he,
the.
Was he over the boards and I'm talking?
I tell you
got
what,
over the boards, I'd have been over. If I could have got over, I'd have done it. I saw Luca out.
It was a good job I wasn't in my wheelchair. We would have had the second motorised Blackpool pitch invasion. There's a nice gap at the corner flag for me to drive on as well.
Should do it one day, Joe. It'll be fucking hilarious. They're not going to bust you, are they? Scooterman 2.0. But, yeah. When that goal went in, for me, it was the fact that you thought he's kind of overcooked it a bit. But when he's turned onto his other foot and he's took 3 of them out of the game, completely off balance, and he's shaped up to shoot it, and it was like in slow motion as well, wasn't it? You saw it leave his foot, and it was just gliding into the top corner. It was a brilliant moment.
It just kisses the bar as it goes in as well.
That noise it made. It was the noise it made as well, and then the roar, and it was like Tim said. It was like one of the old days in the terraces where everyone was jumping around, and I was just hugging strangers like I used to do in terraces, like 2 or 3 like grown men like hugging each other. It was just brilliant. I've never enjoyed myself so much at an away game for a long time.
It's great.
The only slight edge it gives me is that I'm starting to have to admit to Sean that maybe Keshi is better than Sully Kaikai. That's the only thing that takes away slightly from me. That I've got to give him that.
There is one thing though, Matt. I think you can't discount Gary Medine's contribution in the goal, dragging one of the defenders away, making that bit of space for Keshi. So another fine contribution from Medine there.
And as MB's just said in the comments, is he left-footed? I don't think he is.
No, he's right-footed. It was his other foot. He's right-footed. Because who was it? One of the players on the post-match, I can't remember who it was kind of going, "What?" I mean, we were all like, he's taking it on his left. Don't do that. Oh, my God, he scored.
Have you seen Keshi? Keshi was brilliant on those player reactions. What was the word? What was the word he used?
Finesse.
Yeah. Finesse, innit?
Well, he said it about his Preston goal because he was being cheeky when he about his Preston goal. He went, "Oh man, it's just finesse." And then this one, he just went, "Finesse." And I told you so. He's such good value on them. He's brilliant.
He's brilliant, isn't he? Yeah. He's a great character. But yeah, what a moment, Tim, wasn't it? Brilliant, superb.
It is. It's and we keep having these. What we think are the best moments of the season. Then there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one, isn't there? And as I said, I'd love, and if anybody's got it, just please post it in the chat or whatever. But I want a great view, because somebody took a picture of the Nottingham, and it was just you got the whole stand going mental. And the one I've seen, it's sort of half cut off a bit. So I really do want to see what it looked like. But the home fans must just look at us and think they're off their heads. Because it's I know we shouldn't condone it, but there's like some on the pitch and
I love that. I love that when they're on the pitch.
It's the rawness, isn't it? And the players are like loving it, aren't they? They're not saying get off. They're actually celebrating with the fans who come on.
The two lads I were with when we scored, I saw my mate. He just sort of looked at me like, "Whoa! Like what's happened?" Because they don't celebrate.
It never happens in the Premier League, does it?
Well, Goodison's a proper ground. Goodison's is probably as proper a Premier League ground as you can get, and Everton fans are probably as far from the sort of tourist fans as you get in the Premier League ground. But even they were like, "Whoa!" And they kind of saw me mate look across, and I just like leapt on him, and it's like. And it is brilliant, and it is what you're saying. Like it's like that terrace thing. I started going in the early 90s, and it was the sort of terrace thing as much as anything that hooked me into it. That sort of insanity of it, and it was brilliant. And you kind of felt like that might have been cleaned out the game, but it's not. It's not, and it's brilliant, and it is to just go to another thing Tim brings up quite often. But it's such an argument to have some proper safe standing in grounds, isn't it? Because it would be far better to just go with it and do it properly than have people throwing themselves across plastic seats.
It reminded me of that, and none of you might probably remember it, but I always remember when we used to have the FA Cup semi-finals at proper grounds rather than.
I remember
them all at Wembley. But I always remember United at one year, and they weren't in the whole end, they were in the opposite end at Villa, and they score a goal in the semi-final, and the whole that stand, and it's a lower stand than the one in the whole end, went absolutely mental. And the way we celebrate goals just reminds me of that, because that was an image that stood in my mind, because it was like a proper limbs, but with all the way around the ground, and it always used to be shown on Match of the Day and things, and I just don't see any fans celebrate goals like we do. I just don't. When they score at our place, they don't go mental like we do, and I just love it. I just think it's brilliant.
I don't think I've come away from a game with such a smile on my face than after that one. It was just I don't know. It just had something different about it, and I think the fact that we're right behind the goal as well when it goes in, and it's 10 minutes to go. Just brilliant. Just superb. Right, back to the game. Where were we? 10 minutes to go. Did anything really happen? Anderson on Garbutt.
I think it was a more defensive move, wasn't it?
Yeah. Garbutt did a job when he came on, but was it 4 or 5 minutes went up on the board? Wasn't particularly worried. Was anyone else?
No,
I was worried enough to cash out.
Yeah, I'm going to say it was odd that you cashed out, because you were like, I was fine in the first half, and then I was terrified in the first half. But actually, after we'd scored, I was pretty sanguine. I was, maybe, but I was pretty sanguine. I even said to my lad, I said, "Oh, we've got this," and then I thought, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that." But we were fine, and there wasn't. If anything, we had the better chances, and put a bit more pressure on. There was a lovely little ball Nadine played that Mitchell was just slightly on his heels. If he'd have just been alert to it, we could have got a second one. Mitchell actually played really well when he came on. I thought, he was clever at drawing fouls. He added the sort of little bit of grit that Bowler didn't give. He tracked back well, just sort of solidified stuff. I thought that was our most comfortable stretch of the game when we were 1-0 up.
I was praying for a second goal, because in addition to a tenner on at 5-1, I also had 2-0 tenner on at 28-1. 28-1. But the final whistle went, Tim, and we all went out of the ground with massive smiles on our faces back to the coach. Great picture that me and you took outside the Sheffield Stadium.
Yes.
It's annoying.
Doing our own little rendition of whatever it was. I can't remember what we were singing now. Was it Preston Get Battered? It might have been. We sang that a few times, didn't we?
Yeah, I liked the big forged in steel banner they have at the top of Bramall Lane. It's the whole day, the whole experience. It was like of times gone by, wasn't it? Yeah. A happy ending for once, because normally in those situations we always lost.
I do, and I used to quite dislike going on coaches, but I think the atmosphere on Blackpool coaches at the moment is good fun, and it does make a proper day of it. So it's you're going to have a bit of crack on the way back as well.
Certainly not the Remainers day out on a Brexit. What's it? A Remainers away day. That was it.
Yeah,
if anyone's seen those lame Remainers when they go into like Brexit. Anyway, I'm talking rubbish. Right, let's move on to the player ratings section of the show. First up is Mr. Atherton with, you can have Grimmy.
On mute.
No, we've lost him.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Am I coming through? Yeah. I think I'll give him an 8+. I think he did very, very well. Surprisingly, despite all the pressure that we were under, I only remember him making 3 important saves. Obviously, if they go in, that's 3-0 game over, and it's ridiculous. But I thought he was excellent. I thought he got an assist as well. So yeah, in fact, no, 9. I'm going to give him a 9.
I agree.
I thought you were being a bit harsh with an 8+.
His distribution has improved immensely.
Yeah.
His first game in, I was felt dicey about him, but he was confident. He was almost Maxwell-esque with his feet. So yeah, I think that's well fair.
Well, Joe, I've just noticed you got a Tower Power tat on your arm.
I have, yes.
I haven't got any tattoos. I'm considering getting one of them, but designed properly.
You're saying Joe's isn't designed properly? I
was just going to say.
No.
What are you trying to say?
No. I've got a beef with the way the current Tower Power logo is designed. It's too thin, the tower. It's not proper, but yours looks proper. Anyway, I digress. Mitch, Jordan Gabriel, superb performance from our right back. And he swore in the post-match interview as well, didn't he? He got bleeped out, which was funny.
Is this me? You froze for a second.
Right, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's me. Right. Yeah, no, I thought Gabriel was brilliant. I'd go for a 9+ for him. I thought it was excellent. What I really, really think he adds is almost like an auxiliary centre-back. He's it's both his weakness and his strength. He cuts inside, or he comes inside defensively, which sometimes gets caught out with, but equally he's brilliant at dealing with long balls. He's marauds forward. He's 100% effort. 9+. I thought he was brilliant.
James' husband Tim, equally brilliant at fullback.
Yeah, I'm loving the way he's playing since he's got his place back in the team. And I think everybody knows how much of a Garbutt fan I have been, and I couldn't see, in all honesty, I couldn't see husband getting a place back in the team other than in the back 3, where I thought he'd do okay. But I think he's undroppable at the moment. I'm going to go with 10, and I'm going to go with 10 because I just think over the last 3 or 4 games he's just been incredible, and I just want to recognise that because I think he's been arguably our best player in the last 3 games.
Can I just jump?
Go on. You go after me, Mitch. I was just saying.
That's fine.
He's totally dependable. He never dives in. One thing I've noticed, he'll just stand up, and he won't commit himself, and he always gets the tackle in. And that's one thing I've just noticed over the last 3 games. Mitch, go on.
I'm going. This is my second stat, and I'm quite pleased with this. Can't unlock my phone now to find it. There we go. I've got it there. I'm quite pleased with this. Right, Jimmy Husband gets a bit of a rap because he's had some dicey games at centre back, and he was sent off twice last year, and so on and so forth. In the last 2 seasons, he's played 17 games at left back for Poole. We've only lost 2 of them. We've drawn 3 of them. And we've won 12 of them, which means this is my new metric: PPGWJHALB, or points per game. Points per game with Jimmy Husband at left back.
You might have to make it a bit more succinct for it to take off.
Well,
rolls off the tongue, that one.
It
Absolutely.
It's not like the FPRS system.
It's not. But the points per game with Jimmy Husband at left back is 2.29. Right?
Wow.
If you put that over a 46 game season, logically we can infer that if we always play Jimmy at left back, we'll get 105 points. And that, I think, is why he is actually a deeply underrated player. And John, you absolutely nailed it, because I was never that much of a footballer, but I was a defender. And the one thing that I was actually quite good at is what Jimmy is outstanding at, is standing up and not diving in and just watching and timing it. That was the one thing that I was actually anywhere near being quite good at. I was crap at everything else. And he's just so good at that. And he's a simple player. He's just a fucking good left back. And I'm sick to death of reading in forums how we need to upgrade Jimmy Husband. We need to replace Jimmy Husband. Jimmy Husband won't work at this level. At this level, you need this and that. The basics of football are the same, whatever level you play. And he's just a good defender. He's just a good fullback. The end.
Do you think he's actually... Do you think, by the way, that he's actually learned from those mistakes last year, and that's probably taken that into his game and thought, I'm not doing that again. And I think that, and I also think he's really, really improved as an attacking. I thought particularly at Reading, I thought he's absolutely superb at Reading. But he gets forward. He spends most of his game in the opposition's half, and he's making a positive contribution going forward, arguably as well as, if not better than Garbutt.
I think he's a better defender than Tim. I think he's a better defender than Garbutt. I think I've always said this. And Garbutt has a tendency to dive in and sometimes lose his man, whereas Husband he's starting to remind me a lot of Craney, whereas Craney was rock solid at the back and good at getting forward. And I think he's stepping into those very hard to fill shoes, a blight with more hair.
Excellent hair as well.
If only we could do man buns. I think you need, what's it called? Is it called a mnemonic, where you have a word based out of these first letters of an anagram? So you need to make one. Anyone in the comments can think of a mnemonic for Mitch's new XG rating of Jimmy Husband. Let's try and come up with them for a little game.
As it has absolutely no vowels and is all
consonants.
That could be quite difficult.
Well, we have to be Welsh, I think, or something. I think we'll have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jimmy Husband, what a player. Garbutt's going to have to work to get his shirt back, because I think Husband's a nailed-on starter now in that position. Right, let's move to the centre halves. Richard Keogh, and who are we on? Is it Joe or Tim? I can't remember since we've moved to this stacked order. Joe or Tim next?
I was last. I was last with Husband. So,
right, Tim. Joe, over to Richard Keogh.
Again, a 9. Solid as a rock. I think him and Ekpiteta forming a very good partnership. I think Ekpiteta's actually gaining a lot of knowledge and experience, a bit of know-how from Keogh, and just for that last-ditch block alone. Definite 9 for me.
A 9, yeah. Big Marv, Tim.
Yeah, I think you run out of things to say, don't you? Because it's just so consistent.
Even me.
Even me. To be fair, because we say it every week, don't we? We say every week. What a great partnership those two have. It almost seems telepathic sometimes, doesn't it? They just know who's doing what. They've got different attributes which actually blend very well together in a way that I don't think I can recall a centre-back partnership as polished as those two. Even, to be fair, even when we had Baptiste and I've got his name there now.
Evo.
Who's the centre-back?
Evo.
Because I couldn't think, when you get your mind freezes. So, but I don't think the blend was as good as these two are together at the moment. And listen, it's not going to have longevity, is it? Because of Keogh's age. But I think we'll make the most of it while we can. And it's at the moment it is. I think we'd struggle to think of a better centre back pair than these two. So after all that,
I think he's brought his game on leaps and bounds. Playing with,
and he's going to learn massively, isn't he, from Keogh? He's going to, because he's so experienced, and playing alongside him, he's going to make him a great player for hopefully for the next 10 years. So
playing under Nottingham, playing next to Nottingham.
So with all that said, I think it's a 9, great 9 as well.
I think definitely the defence are going to get high scores for this game, the highest. Mitch, over to you, Ryan Wintle.
Well, Ryan Wintle played like Ryan Wintle. I think he probably was the better of the two out of Dougal and Wintle, but there's never that much in it. He was I don't know if you saw him when he came over at the end. He was virtually dead on his feet. He'd run that much. And again, I think he was reasonably calm with the ball. He didn't have any great time with it. I thought Sheffield United did very well at pressing us high and allowing us absolutely no time on the ball. But he played like Wintle plays, and thus logically, I seem to give Wintle an 8 every time. So I'm going to give him an 8 again because that's what he is. He is the number 8. He gets an 8 every time. He's a solid 8 player, and that's his strength.
Kenny Dougal, Joe, again, tough for these two centre midfielders, given the fact that we were overrun quite a lot in midfield in this game.
Yeah, especially in the first hour. I thought that I agree with what Matt says, basically. I thought that Wintle was probably the slightly better of the two, but that doesn't mean by any means that Kenny had a bad game. 7+.
Fairs, yep. It was one of those games where you didn't really notice much of him, but what he did do, he just did it well, kept things ticking over.
No mistakes in him. He did a good job, especially when you consider that he was playing probably through a bit of pain. He was touch and go whether he's going to be playing with his ankle injury that he got against Preston. So, yeah, every credit for him to put his body on the line and crack on.
Same Josh Bowler, one of his most ineffective performances of the season, but he's always there for that out ball and take the pressure off, which he did well. And the other time he did get on the ball, I think.
Yeah, I don't want this to be seen to be negative because I think if we've got to keep the scoring real, and I do think probably it's the one game where I'm struggling to think of many occasions where he got away from his man and where he's done what we've seen him do so regularly. And the reality, I'm going to watch the particular second half back, I think, after the show tonight, and I pity I didn't get a chance to do it beforehand, but. I think we were left disappointed because we know how great he can. I would say 6+ on that one, but and I think he was the obvious one to come off. He'll have better games, and he'll have games where the opposition don't go so tight on him. And but I suppose if they're going tight on him, it's leaving space for others, isn't it? So
that's what having a gravity player is all about, isn't that right, Mitch?
Certainly is. So we should trademark that, shouldn't we?
We should. Listeners to the Seasiders Podcast Patreon program will know what we're on about here with the hipster A to Z that we've done. Seasiders Pod /Patreon.
It's still only the hipsters A to G, though, isn't it?
We need to do G through Z or G through Z.
One day.
I've just Mitch, as an aside, I have just deleted the player name banners for Sully Kai, who's still loitering around. So I've just deleted him, but just to cheer you up, you can do Keshi Anderson's score.
You could have given me that banner as a souvenir, John, but never mind.
I'll give you ones and notes. I'll have to give you ones and notes, though.
That's all right. That's all right.
Give you in binary if you want.
I'm trying to think of a binary joke, but I can't. No, Kesh was really good.
What I could do is I could get it printed out, and you can have that as your Christmas present.
Oh, hey, beautiful.
Keshi Anderson, away you go.
Kesh. I mean, look, he scored a beautiful goal, but he was a lot livelier than Bowler. He had more influence in the game than Bowler. He had a good effort that really started our good spell about 5 minutes before he scored. I think he also contributed more defensively as well than Bowler. I'm not playing them off against each other, trying to work the score out. I think I'll give him a 9. I don't think he was a 10. I think I'll give him a 9. 9+ because he scored that stunning goal. 9+.
I agree with that. Right, who's got big Gaz? Joe.
I think that the style of our victory was somewhat serendipitous, but I think that Gary... Thank you. I think Gary definitely was a huge contributing factor in us riding our luck. Like Matt said earlier on in the day, he did his job at both ends of the field fantastically, winning headers in both boxes, drawing fouls. The excess was high, and I'm going to give him a 9.
We missed in the match report that brilliant moment where he made out to the whole world that he was quite obviously a corner, picked the ball up, marched to the corner flag, had a full-blown row with the linesman to the point where their keeper got so pissed off he came and pushed Gaz over. So he then threw the ball away and fell on the floor. And he was just he just played it exactly as it wanted to happen. He's just, he deserves an Oscar. He's brilliant.
King of the excess, Gary Medine. We need to get him a Christmas present or something with excess on, thinking caps on. Right, Jerry Yates, where were we on?
I think it was me, I think.
Oh, yeah, I've missed the place. Yeah, Jerry Yates, not one of his best games.
No, I think I think he'll have better. I think he always, he's always hard working, he always contributes, but he perhaps just didn't have that that little bit extra that he normally has on Saturday. And and I said I'm really interested because having heard everything Mitch said about Gary's influence on the game, I'm going to pay particular attention when I look back because it'd be interesting to see. But he was a little bit out of sorts, and I think it's probably 7+. I think. Yeah,
I can agree with that. Man of the matches, then, gents. Let's go top to bottom again. So let's start with you, Joe.
If I had to give my man of the match to one person, because it was a bunch of great team performances in there, I'd have to probably give it to... I'm going to go with Richard Keogh. I think he was fantastic at the back, and I think he marshalled the defence very well.
Steve Hutchin agrees in the comments. Tim, it's very tough. It's a very tough one. This you could pick the goalie or anyone from the back four, or even Keshi. So
I would say, I think going right across the back four, there's a good shout for them all. Particularly, I think Keogh and Gabriel, and I think and Grimshaw. I think my mate is a City fan. They rated Grimshaw. I think he played in the same team as some of the younger. My mind's gone to mush tonight. As Foden, and I think they rated him highly, and I think he perhaps didn't quite push on in the same way. But I think we've actually genuinely now got two goalkeepers who are going to be vying for that one spot, which is great because they'll push each other on, and we've obviously I suspect Maxwell will probably still keep the shirt, but I think it's going to become a closer run thing. I think the longer that Grimshaw's in there. But I'm going to have to go with Hubby. I think Hubby was exceptional, and I'm going to stick with the man that I gave the 10 to.
Okay, I'll go next then. This is probably one of the toughest man of the match sections of the show, of the season, I guess. But I want to give it Gabriel, I want to give it Husband, and I also want to give it to Keogh. But I'm going to give it to Grimshaw purely because I think he's gained us 6 points this season, because if he's not made that save against Reading, we're losing that game. And I think if we'd have conceded early in the second half, I think they'd have run away with the game. I think he's made absolutely vital saves at vital points of the season, and I think he's grown into the game, and I think he deserves it. So, Dan Grimshaw for me. Mitch, let's see us out.
Yeah, you pretty much took what I was going to say. I'll be quick. I thought Keogh played very well in what could have been a very difficult game for him. It was almost, exactly the kind of game you don't want him to play, with lots of nippy little forwards running at him. And I thought his reading of the game was astonishingly good. For a player that's got a top speed of about 0.5 mile an hour, he had an incredible match. And I mean that as a compliment. His football brain is unbelievable. Hubby played well, obviously did. Kesh scored one of the best goals I've seen live in a long, long time. But I would agree, it's got to be Grimshaw. And I think as much as anything for his growth since the first game we saw him, he looked a bit stuttering and a bit hesitant. I think he deserves that. And he did, he did literally, Sean put in the comments, 4 saves and an assist. As a keeper, what more can you do? So I think Grimshaw deserves it.
Well, it's 2 clean sheets in a row for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Tim, manager rating. Struggled in the first half, so we've done better, haven't we?
I'm not sure. I'm still not sure that going 4-4-2 was the right formation for this game. But he's won the game, so. And the the substitutions and the tweaks that brought with it were crucial, and more than anything else on Saturday, what I really loved was when he got a little bit emotional. I think most of us have probably seen that. If anybody hasn't, it's on Twitter and whatever. And he looks like after he's done his. Well, it's not Jurgen Klopp's 3 fist pumps. It's what they do in the Bundesliga. Pretty much the whole team normally does it, and so it's a Bundesliga thing, and it's great. It's like something that some people might say copying Liverpool, but it is great. At the end, I saw some young kids on one of the videos or at the front doing it, and it's fantastic to see. But he actually had he started to well up a bit, and as he turned away, he had the proverbial grit in his eye, and I think he said on to Matt Scrafton today that he realises this is a special time, and he's got the opportunity here to do something with the most incredible backing I think that any manager could hope to have, but not by chucking money at stuff. There's some managers, we've all seen the Harry Redknapps and the like who come in and just spend a load of money on players, but he's creating something, and it's a bit cliche, but he's creating his own image, and he's got basically carte blanche to do what the hell he wants. And I think if he plays his cards right with Blackpool, that there could be a very big job down the line for him in 5 or 10 years' time, and maybe back at Liverpool, because I think the growth I think he can show with us could set us up for donkey's years, and eventually, listen. Eventually, he'll go somewhere. But let's hope we can get some great years out of him. And hopefully when he does go, it'll be to a proper job. And I think that would be his, our legacy to him, and his legacy to us will be to make us into a great team. And I think he's got the ability to do it. And, I just know that what Holloway was always fighting demons, wasn't he? He was always fighting his own demons, and he was always fighting Carl Oyston. And, to me, he must have had the patience of the saint to work for that man for as long as he did. But Critchley's got somebody who's going to back him to the hilt. And I think he knows that's not something you often get in football. So 10, sorry.
Mitch.
2 things to pick up on what Tim said. Number 1, I think he really values coaching, and I think he loves that he's not just he's got these players doing this, that he's not only manager of a football team that are winning games, but he's a man who's having a visible and an evident effect on the careers of young players. He's made some of those young players what they are. He's had such an influence on them, and also players like Gary Medine and Keogh, that must give him so much satisfaction. And 2, this sums up for me how good Critchley is, or we think he is at least. 2 or 3 years ago, a year ago even, we'd have been absolutely envious of Burnley with Dyche. We'd have been going, oh, Sean Dyche, there's the manager. I wish we had someone like him. And you look at Dyche and think, well, maybe he's never actually going to go any bigger than Burnley, but you feel like Critchley. Because I was just about to say, yeah, but Dyche hasn't left Burnley. Why should he leave us? And then you just go, yeah, but Critchley's a different class from Sean Dyche. And that says everything, because Dyche is a bloody good manager. 10.
Yeah. I don't know if this is actually Eddie, my son, but he's put hey, so maybe it is. Hello, Eddie, if you're watching via a third party. Anyway, right, 10. Yeah.
We won 1-0 away at Sheffield United. What do you want us to give us?
And we're in the playoffs.
Two monologues in a row.
8.5.
Abrasive monologues.
No, what can you do?
Right, boys, we're on an hour 25. Christ, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Next up, we've got Stoke
I give
away.
him a 10 as well. You didn't.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Sorry, we did. These monologues have fried my brain. Maybe something to do with the large wine that I'm drinking as well. It's getting to that stage where I kind of forget things.
It's not your third one, is it, John?
No, I just won. But right, yeah. So we've got Stoke away on Wednesday evening. Strange kickoff time. Is it 8 o'clock? Some 45.
I've not quite worked out. I can't remember the last time we played on a Wednesday night at home. But I think we did it once in the Premier League, didn't we? But, they're bringing a few apparently, aren't they? So it should be quite an atmosphere on Wednesday.
Well, I'm just looking at
they've opened up a corner of the southeast.
Right. Oh, they've got rid of that pigeon poo that Joan P&E kept showing everybody.
the 21st in the form table. Drawn, won, lost, drawn. Played last 6, won 1, drawn 2, lost 3. So they're not in the greatest of form, and they're a team to be shot at.
Have they still got the Northern Ireland manager, as was?
They have, yeah.
Yeah, because he's never really pulled up any trees there, has he? I thought he'd do quite well, but he's not. And presumably Jordan Thompson still playing for them, I would guess.
He is.
I think so, yeah.
Is Tom N still there?
No,
he was an unused substitute. Yeah, unused substitute on a Saturday where they threw away a 3-0 lead against Cardiff.
Yeah.
But I mean, sorry for interrupting. I think that it's very important that we remember that this time last year we were mid-table in League One, struggling to beat teams like Burton Albion. We've got no right to rock up tomorrow and beat Stoke. I know we're in very good form, and I know we're playing very, very good football. And I'm sure that Neil Critchley will have his players' feet firmly on the ground. But I'll admit, even myself, I was having a conversation with my dad on the phone. What if we actually got in the playoffs? What if we actually got to the Premier League? And it's mental that a third through the season, if we get just a point tomorrow, we'll be on 25 points. That's halfway to safety.
Yeah.
After 16 games. I'm not saying that this will carry on. There'll be bumps in the road, like the Nottingham Forest game, like the Huddersfield game. I'm just absolutely... I can't get enough of watching Blackpool at the minute. And like I say, there'll be games where we don't turn up and we get beat. It's a very unforgiving league. You only just need to see what happened against Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest. You make one mistake, you get punished, they score. We're doing brilliant. We've never had things this good. And the thing is, unlike last time that we did it, it's built on solid foundations. If we were to do it, it would change the club forever, unlike last time. The training ground, that'd get done. The academy would get set up. We'd get a new East stand. Everything would be paid for. And if we did go up, we'd make a bloody better fist of it than Norwich are doing now. Tell you that for nothing.
The money would get reinvested in the right places.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As long as we play...
Not in Bison and wedding venue.
As long as we keep Jimmy Husband at left back, we'll be European champions by 2025. I think we've proved that statistically.
I have heard a rumour today that it's almost steaming ahead with the training ground at Garstang Road, Tim. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Sorry, I just lost. It was just saying the battery's going low, so I just lost you for about 2 seconds. So just sorry. So I mean, obviously that was the rumor I'd heard about 2 months ago that seemed to have it seemed logical. There aren't many spaces big enough for a training ground if you're going to build it in the actual conurbation. And it's obviously, arguably, it's just outside. It's on the border, but it's a great site, and it'll have the great good links when that road's finished. So I can see it happening there. Cat
1, I've heard as well. Cat 1 facility, and just down the road from us, Tim. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I've the other rumour I've heard is that it's not going to be open to the public. That it may just be for the players, and that the side that will be open to the public will be built adjacent to the stadium. So our walking football will be based there rather than at the actual training ground. Which I'm a little bit. I think I'd sort of would like a little bit more of a pool foot setup that's the heart of the community. But I'm sure that whatever they've got planned at Blackpool will be a heart of community type facility that we'll all really, really appreciate. And if they do, I don't know if it's true, this, by the way, but if they do decide to keep the players' facilities separately, then I'm sure it's for very good reasons, and I'm sure that we won't be shortchanged.
I was going to say that I think one of Sadler's motivations is to, kind of have a positive impact on the area immediately around the ground, and that site on Garthstang Road is. It's not all entirely leafy around there, but it's definitely on the going towards the leafier side of Blackpool, isn't it? And if you sort of, you can see the logic in having the sort of community facilities and the public facing things at the Bloomfield site in terms of, if you're wanting to drive social change, it's more logical to put it there, isn't it? So perhaps that's
and all the community offices are there. That's where the hub of the community trust is, isn't it? So why then have the facilities 5 miles down the road? So yeah, I can see it, and there is a big site to be had now at the Bloomfield Road, which was never previously available. So it is, and it could be linked in with the East development. It's going to be an exciting few years, I think. As to be a Blackpool fan, not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well.
And also, it'll be a gravity training ground in that it will suck away all the custom from Poolfoot Farm if it's on Garthstang Road as well. Billy will be seething if that happens. Seething. Right, before I get interrupted and put off anymore by my son in the comments, I've put him in timeout for 5 minutes. It's been very off-putting. Sorry, Eddie. Family or not, you're blocked. No one interrupts the Seasiders podcast in full flow even. Right, we're on an hour and a half. We're going to have to go, aren't we? This has been another epic, another monologue, but I think we've done it justice, haven't we, gents, on what was. It's up there in the top 5 away days for me. It was brilliant, had everything.
And it's 22 points out of the last 30. We were, I think after how many games we had played now, Joe? 15, did you say?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
So I think after 3 or 4, we were second or third bottom, weren't we? And the turnaround since then has just been incredible. Incredible. I mean, that is over a 10-game spurt. That is Premier. That's getting you in the Premier League. And it's all to do with Jimmy Husband, as said before by Mitch. So
104. How many points was it, Mitch?
105 we're on course for if we keep him playing there. Well, we won't get 105 because obviously we have to factor in that we have played some games with him not at left back, but so it'll probably get 98.
So the secret to the success of this season is just play Jimmy Husband every game. He doesn't get injured and he doesn't get sent off, and then we're going up. Well,
look at it this way. You know what Tim just said. The turnaround is massive. It is. I'm doing the book thing, not plugging it, but I've been editing what I've written, and I edited the bit about the Burton game a year ago and a day today. I edited that today. I was looking at a year and a day ago. We went to Burton. We were second bottom, and they were bottom. Right.
Yep.
What would have happened if we'd have lost that game? Would have been so bad at the beginning. What would have happened if we'd lost that game? What would have happened if Burton put 3 past us, beaten by the bottom side who were totally out of form? What would have happened? 3-4-0, people, would we be where? How on earth have we gone from there to where we are now in the fucking playoffs of the championship? I forgot your son's watching. In the playoffs of the championship in 1 year and 1 day. Well, 1 year. You know, it's incredible.
It's mental. He hears it all from me anyway, Mitch. So don't worry about it. Yeah. Oh, who'd thought where we'd be where we are now? Right.
Are you sure you've only had one glass of red wine?
It's been a very large one, Tim. I'm going to go now before I embarrass myself anymore. Right, we'll be coming back at some point in the end of the week. So I think we're going to do a combination preview and Stoke reaction show on Thursday after the Stoke game. So, David, we are doing a preview show, not tomorrow. It's going to be Thursday. I don't think it's going to be one tomorrow. I'll speak to the lads. Do like and subscribe to the show if you're watching on YouTube. Helps us grow and all that bollocks. John's about to wipe away tears. No, I'm not sure. Right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, the Bookie Slayer. And thank you, everybody, for joining us in the comments. And all that remains to be said is thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. And up the pool. Go the pool.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.